Hi, my name is Detective Sergeant Glenn Wright of York Regional Police Financial Crimes, and with me is Detective Constable Leanne Guthrie. Today we're here to speak to a fraud that's occurring with more and more frequency that we're really concerned about, which is the grandparent scam or emergency scam. So without further ado, I'll let Leanne introduce herself.
Okay, again, I'm Leanne Guthrie. Thank you very much for coming. So you contacted police back in May. It's my understanding that an incident started, you got your first phone call in March. Can you tell me what happened with that phone call, what you heard?
Yes, it was March the 22nd of this year. My wife and I got a call just before noon, and on the end at the line of the phone call was my grandson, who was crying. He was upset. He said that he had been in a car with a friend of his, and they were pulled over by Toronto police for speeding. Now my grandson was just the passenger in the car. The police searched the car and they found in the trunk a sample of narcotics. So they arrested my grandson and his friend, took them to a local precinct, took them before a judge. The judge requested bail money for them. But my grandson also was only allowed to talk to us for a brief period of time, for just a couple of minutes, just to tell us what had happened. And after he got off the phone, a person who identified himself as an RCMP officer came on the phone and reiterated what my grandson had said to us. He also said that the judge had issued a gag order on the proceedings because of the narcotics that were involved. He asked that we not discuss it with anybody, not even anybody in our family. So they said that if we got the bail, he could be released and go home. And they gave us an amount to get. So my wife and I decided that we would try to get it because it was our grandson. I mean, we didn't think of it being not true. And so and with all that emotion, we decided that yes, we would help him, and we let him know that we would help him.
Leading up to that, what was the relationship that you had with your grandson? Did you see him often?
Very often. He's more like a son to us than a grandson. So he's a very special child. At the age of 15 months, he had a heart transplant. Okay, and then for the next 8 years, he was in sick kids quite often. He also contracted cancer, so he's a cancer survivor. And so we know him, like we know his emotions, we know his voice, we know his voice when he's talking, when he's laughing, we just...
You believed he was in trouble, so you wanted to do everything
Definitely.
you could to help.
That was the
right?
reason that we insist, Mm-hmm. So, just before we hung up, we were given some instructions of what to do with the money once we got it. And we were instructed to have the money put in a special envelope. A courier would come once we had it all sealed and ready. They instructed us not to have any conversations with this courier, just to ask for the code, and once we got the code, to pass the sum of money on. So we did that. The next morning, we got a call from this RCMP constable, and he kept informing us that we needed to remember the gag order, not to mention it to anybody. Third day, same thing happened. A call, a talk, just remember the gag order. Fourth day, we got another call and a request for more funds because, according to the RCMP officer, the judge had increased the bail requirements because the police had discovered a gun hidden in the passenger side front door of the car. So we got the funds, and this went on for 4 times over a period of 2 months.
Do you know how much in total you ended up providing to?
Yes, let's say $100,000.
100,000 over?
Rounded off, over 2 months.
Okay.
He had promised us in the beginning that once the gag order was lifted, we would get our funds back, which we believed. And during this process that we were going through, this officer used to call us every day. We had just normal conversations of maybe a minute or two of, hi, how you doing? Small talk. Sounded really just a very personable person, very, very genuine. This went on for the whole 2 months. And so he didn't call on the 17th. He didn't call on the 18th. And then my wife and I were both beginning to wonder. This is when the other side of this came into being, like in our feelings. It was our grandson. We felt we had to do it. His voice was our grandson's. So we knew it was our grandson. So we thought. Anyway, I decided to call my grandson and ask him a couple of questions. And I said to him, what was the name of the detective who took you to the precinct in Toronto? He says, what precinct? And I got this uneasy, really uneasy feeling. And I said, you know, when you were pulled over in the car with your friend and they discovered drugs in your car. He said, I'd never been pulled over in a car, and I never have been to a precinct in Toronto ever in my life. My immediate response to him was, okay, I see we are being scammed. And that's the last word I say to him. And he said, yeah, sounds like it. And I had this real sinking feeling that, yeah, it was a scam, or is a scam at that time.
And how has this affected you and your family?
Okay, I'm going to say first me. At first, the first day, like the very first day I contacted the police services, and it was the first day that I really felt clobbered, if you, that pit, in the pit of your stomach feeling where you felt, woof, like this, but it didn't last long. I have to testify to my faith. I'm a Christian, and I'm a very strong believer in Christian principles. And there are two passages in the Bible that really stand out for me. It makes who I am. One of them says that my God shall supply all of my needs according to his riches and glory. That means that as much as these thieves took, there's still more available to me. However the Lord decides to get that back to me. Us, I mean my family. But I was thinking of me at the time. All right? And then the other one is that all things work to the good of those who love the Lord. So this has been my mantra for 20 years in life. I tend to look at things more positively, more quickly in that regard. And so, yeah, there was a bit of, I didn't feel any anger towards what had happened, but I did really want justice to be done, like these thieves to be caught, to be brought to justice, and that's why I'm willing to do this too. Basically, now for my wife, it was a little harder for her. She's strong in her faith too, but she's also, as for all of us, finances are an important part of life, And we live in a seniors residence. They've been very good. Management has been very good to us since then, and are being very good to us. But we know that our lifestyle is going to change a bit now because of this, and that's what we're dealing with now, I'll give you an example. For every year before COVID came into play, for the last three years now, up until every year in this month, in the month of August, we used to go to one place. We'd take 4 days out of the end of August, and we would go to one place in Ontario for a little vacation that one of us hadn't been to. So this would have been the month that we did that. Also, it was our 50th anniversary when COVID started, and we weren't able to do that. So all of these things now have had to be put aside because so we're making it through, but just a lot of adjustment. That's basically it.
So it's been quite a financial impact.
Definitely, yeah.
You mentioned when it sunk in, Nikki, that feeling once you realized
Yeah,
reading the
it's
article.
like,
and-
what have I done? But you know what I mean? Like,
Did you feel like betrayed? Because you're a good person, you were trying to help. Did you feel betrayed?
I don't believe that as like being. It's a part of life that criminal activities happen. I didn't believe that. I just wondered how I missed any signs that I should. Like, there's 4 different payments, and nowhere in those 4 payments did I pause, or was there a reason to pause? You know what I mean? I didn't have let me think about this for a second. I didn't have one of those moments.
In like looking at this, what advice would you give to other elders or other people in the community?
First time you got a request for large money, even if it says it's somebody legal, phone somebody you know who could tell you that yes or no, right away. Like if I had done that day, my son actually said he had an inclination to do that, and he wished that he had, but he let that pass because, again, there's a connection between our grandson.
Yeah.
So the emotional part of it, I think, was the key that made us go further and further into it.
I thank you very, very much for sharing this. It was took some courage, and you'll definitely help other people by sharing your story. And I thank you so much for that.
Thank you.